I spent years trying not to think about her face, but even now, when the nights grow too quiet, it still rises in front of me like something unfinished. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that once, long ago, I trusted a woman who didn't deserve even a fraction of my kindness. Her name was Elena Voss. At least, that's the name she used with me. Later I learned she had more than 12 identities, spread across 3 countries like a trail of broken glass. But at the time, she was simply Lena, a soft-spoken woman with a careful smile, who knew exactly how to make people like me feel seen. I met her on a cold morning in early winter. I had just opened my small art boutique in the center of the city, a place I had dreamed about since childhood. It wasn't much, a narrow room filled with handmade jewelry, sketches, and small sculptures, but it was mine. I remember that morning clearly because I was exhausted, broke, and terrified that my dream would collapse before it even began. Then she walked in, charming the silence of the shop away with her warm laugh. She moved with the ease of someone who belonged everywhere. Even her coat looked expensive, though she acted as if she didn't notice. She told me she worked in art restoration and traveled constantly. She praised my work with a sincerity I had been desperate to hear. Then she said something I still remember word for word. "You don't just make art. You make stories people want to keep." I should have noticed the way she studied me, the way her eyes flickered not at the art but at the register. But I didn't. I wanted to believe her. People like me, we always want to believe the ones who praise us most. Over the next weeks, she became a regular visitor. She would drop by with coffee, asking about my sales, my life, my worries. She had a talent for turning conversations into confessions. She learned quickly that I lived alone, that my family was far away, that I handled all my finances myself, and that the boutique was struggling. Looking back, every detail I shared must have been another brick in the trap she built. The day she made her offer, I remember feeling hope for the first time in months. She said she wanted to help me bring the boutique to life. She claimed she had connections with overseas collectors and galleries. She said she could feature my pieces in exhibitions, increase my sales, and even help me apply for grants. All she needed, she said with a gentle smile, was access to my business account so she could handle formalities. I hesitated, but she made it sound so normal, so harmless. And she was patient. She didn't rush. She simply planted the idea and let it grow. A week later, when she mentioned it again, I convinced myself it was trust, not desperation, that made me agree. It took her 3 days to empty everything I had. Not just the business account, my personal savings, the emergency fund, even the credit line I had never touched. When the bank called, I felt a strange numbness spreading through my body, like the world had suddenly tilted and I couldn't keep my balance. I called her number, but it was disconnected. I went to the hotel she claimed to live in. The receptionist said no such person had ever checked in. Every trace of her vanished as if she was smoke. I filed a police report that same afternoon, but the officer's expression told me everything. This wasn't the first time someone had said her name, and he doubted it would be the last. The weeks that followed were the darkest in my life. Without money, without trust, without stability, I nearly lost the boutique. Friends offered help, but I felt too ashamed to accept it. I replayed every conversation with her, every smile, every lie disguised as kindness. I hated her. I hated myself more. But hate doesn't rebuild a life. So I worked. I rebuilt the boutique piece by piece, day by day, telling myself that someday, somehow, she would slip. For years I heard nothing. Sometimes the police would call to ask more questions, but nothing ever came of it. They said she was a ghost, a master of reinvention. Her victims were scattered everywhere. A retired couple in Romania, a small business owner in Poland, a charity organization in Germany, an elderly man shared convinced she was his long-lost niece. The list was long, horrifyingly long. And every time they added a new story, mine felt smaller, like just one more brick in the wall shed built out of stolen lives. But then things changed. It was late one evening, almost 10 years after the day she walked into my shop, when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. I was tired, covered in paint, and closing the shop for the night, but something made me pick up. It was Detective Moran, the one who had handled my case at the beginning. His voice sounded different, sharper, almost triumphant. "We got her," he said. For a moment, I thought I misheard. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He explained that she had been caught crossing a border using a forged passport. They had discovered dozens of IDs in her luggage, all perfectly crafted, along with documents connecting her to crimes across Europe. And in one of her hidden folders, my name, my documents, my story. I felt something inside me loosen, as if a chain ID carried for years finally snapped. He invited me to the trial, and I went. I needed to see her again, not as the woman who fooled me, but as the woman she truly was. The courtroom was cold. She walked in wearing a plain grey prison uniform, her hands cuffed, her hair shorter than I remembered. But her eyes were exactly the same. Calm, calculating, empty. When she turned her head and saw me in the audience, her expression didn't change. Not a flicker of recognition, not a trace of guilt. Just that same distant calmness, as if I were nothing to her. Maybe I had always been nothing. The prosecutor listed her crimes: fraud, identity theft, falsification of documents, financial manipulation, aggravated theft. The list went on for nearly half an hour. 39 victims officially, maybe more unofficially. When they described the way she had targeted each person, I felt sick. She hadn't stumbled into her crimes by accident. She had studied her victims, shaped herself precisely into whatever they needed, then hollowed them out from the inside. During the testimonies, I forced myself to speak. I told the court everything: how she approached me, how she gained my trust, how she drained my accounts, how she disappeared like a shadow. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. I wanted her to hear the consequences of her actions, even if she didn't care. When I finished, the judge looked at her and asked if she had anything to say. She lifted her chin slightly and replied in a voice that sent a shiver down my spine. People believe what they want to believe. I never forced anyone. No apology. No regret. Just cold logic. But the judge wasn't moved. The sentence was long, decades, enough that she would grow old behind bars. When the gavel struck, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Justice had been served, but justice doesn't erase scars. After the trial, Detective Miron approached me. He said something I've held onto ever since. Sometimes closure isn't about healing. Sometimes it's just about knowing the monster won't hurt anyone else. I walked out of the courthouse and felt the sun on my face. It felt unfamiliar, like a warmth I'd forgotten existed. Today, my boutique thrives. I rebuilt it slowly, carefully, and with a deeper understanding of the world. I still think about her sometimes, about how easily she walked into my life and almost ended everything I worked for. But now, the memory doesn't hurt the way it used to. It's just a reminder that trust is precious, a reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters, and a reminder that even the best liars eventually run out of lies. She stole money from me, yes, but she will never steal another day of my life. Sometimes people ask me how Elena managed to stay hidden for so many years, how someone so dangerous could move through countries like a whisper. I used to wonder the same thing, but after the trial, I learned everything, every detail the investigators uncovered, every lie she built, every life she shattered. And the truth was worse than anything I had imagined. She wasn't just a thief. She was an architect of deception, a woman who had turned reinvention into an art form. I learned that Elena's crimes began long before she met me. She had started small, almost innocently, if such a word can even be used. In her early 20s, she worked at a luxury hotel abroad, and there she studied people, not their faces or their habits, but their vulnerabilities. She watched who tipped generously, who spoke too freely, who traveled alone, who drank too much. One of her earliest victims was a businessman from Prague. She learned his schedule, followed him for 3 days, waited until he left his briefcase unattended in the lobby, and disappeared with documents that gave her access to almost everything he owned. The authorities suspected inside involvement, but they never found her. After that, she changed her name for the first time. And then again. And again. With every new identity, she crafted a new personality, a new background, a new accent. 1 month she was an art consultant, the next a traveling historian, the next a charity organizer. She had no real friends, no real home, no real past. Only masks. And she wore them with such perfection that even officials, bankers, and border officers trusted her instantly. I learned that she had a pattern. She always chose people who carried their wounds quietly. Widows, immigrants, young entrepreneurs, people who wanted to believe in kindness. She never went after the arrogant or the suspicious, only the hopeful. Her method was simple in theory but devastating in execution. She would observe her target first, sometimes for weeks. She learned everything. What they feared, what they needed, what they longed for. Then she would enter their life at the exact moment when their defenses were lowest. Always gentle, always warm, always helpful. She made people feel understood. She made them feel safe. And when they trusted her completely, she hollowed them out. One of her victims was a retired violin teacher from Austria. Elena pretended to be her distant relative, even forged letters and family documents. She spent months gaining the old woman's trust, bringing groceries, helping clean the house, repairing things that didn't need repairing. And when the woman finally granted her access to her accounts, believing Elena was her only remaining family, Elena drained everything and vanished, leaving the woman penniless and utterly alone. Another victim was a charity foundation director in Poland. Elena volunteered, helped organize events, charmed donors, got access to financial papers, and then stole nearly €500,000. The charity collapsed within a year. She didn't just steal money, she stole stability, dignity, future. And she didn't feel the slightest remorse. Investigators found notebooks in her apartment, pages filled with observations about people she had targeted. Not their crimes, not their secrets, but their emotional cracks. She studied trust the way a surgeon studies anatomy. After hearing these things, I remember feeling sick. It wasn't just that she had fooled me. It was that she had perfected her cruelty long before I ever met her. But what surprised me most was how close she had come to being caught several times. Once in Bucharest, a victim recognized her and called the police. She escaped through a back alley, leaving behind documents and forged IDs. Another time, she was detained at an airport in Germany, but the passport she used was so convincing that officials released her with an apology. She had prepared escape routes in every city, safe houses, cash hidden under floorboards, people she manipulated into helping her without ever knowing her real name. She was always one step ahead. Always. Until the last time. The mistake she made was small, almost invisible. She used the same handwriting style on two different identities. One careless signature. That was all. But that tiny detail was enough for a forensic specialist to make a connection between two otherwise unrelated fraud cases. They traced the documents, contacted other countries, compared patterns, and finally created a full picture of her network. When they issued the international warrant, she didn't even know her world was closing in. She tried crossing into Hungary using a new identity, this time a forged passport claiming she was a Canadian scholar. But the border officer asked one extra question about her university, and for the first time in her life, she hesitated. Not visibly, not dramatically, but for half a second she froze, just enough for suspicion to spark. Within hours, she was in custody. When investigators searched her temporary apartment, they found dozens of passports, hard drives, encrypted files, and cash hidden in jars of flour. They found letters from victims she had never sent. They found ledgers of stolen identities. And they found one digital folder named Unfinished. My name was inside it. I don't know why that detail shook me so deeply. I suppose some part of me realized she had never planned to stop. If she hadn't been arrested, she would have continued, ruining more lives, wearing more masks, smiling the same gentle smile she once gave me. During the trial, prosecutors laid out everything. Every scam. Every forged document. Every identity. Every victim. It lasted days. And I sat there for every word, because I needed to see the truth of what she was. I needed to understand that what happened to me wasn't weakness, but precision. She had studied me. She had chosen me. She had played me like a script she'd rehearsed 100 times. But the moment that stays with me most wasn't her sentence. It wasn't her cold stare. It wasn't even her refusal to apologize. It was when they described her final attempted scam, the one that led to her arrest. She had targeted a young single mother, offering help with school grants for the woman's son. The woman trusted her completely. Elena was days away from stealing everything she owned. But she never got the chance. For the first time, someone was saved before the damage was done. When the judge sentenced her, decades in prison, I felt no triumph, no joy, no revenge. Just something like quiet release, like the air finally leaving a room I'd been locked in for too long. When they led her away, she didn't look at me. Maybe she didn't remember me. Maybe I was just another page in one of her notebooks, another broken wing she left behind. But I remembered her, and I always will. Not with fear, not with hatred, but with clarity. Because predators like her don't just steal money. They steal trust, innocence, and the soft parts of you that you didn't realize were vulnerable. They teach you to doubt the world and yourself, but they also teach you to rebuild. Today, the boutique I nearly lost is thriving. I rebuilt my savings, my confidence, my life. She took a part of my past, yes, but she didn't get my future. In the end, Elena Voss wasn't the storm that destroyed me. She was the lesson that shaped me. And while she counts her years behind bars, I count my victories. One honest day at a time. This is the end of my story. Stay with me and wait for new stories.